Recording. Alan Knight with Night Talk Live. Hello, everyone, wherever you might be on this beautiful Saturday. I know where I am, it's kind of beautiful. And today I have a very wonderful, lovely person that I met as I meet many people on Facebook. I do all my networking on Facebook, and I met this lovely young lady, Lisa David Olson, who's a fascinating person. She'll tell you about herself, but I could just say that one of the things that she's an expert in is how to integrate humor into everything you have, that you do, all your relationships, both business and personal. So Lisa, the first thing is welcome to Night Talk Live.
Yay! Thanks for having me, Alan. I have been a fan of yours for some time, and you were my very first podcast guest on Stranger Connections.
Wow. I must have Alzheimer's because I didn't remember that point, that factoid.
That's
wonderful.
It's where you had to share a dare or a prank that you've done or had done to you. I ask every single guest that. I still remember yours.
I remember that. It was very nice of you to have me. So I wanted to bring you on today because I want to do, now that I have this private group Zen Zone mindset, I want to bring a lot of value to the table. And I was saying to you before we got on now, is that I know that as coaches and trainers, it's very easy for us to get into teacher mode, where we kind of try to teach and preach. And I'm trying to keep these interviews as personal as possible so people can relate to our stories. So why don't we take a minute or two, just introduce yourself, because you could do a lot better job than I can do. Introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the topic, which is, do you remember the exact words we agreed on?
We are going to talk about why procrastinating is not good for you and that you don't need permission to go for things that you want to pursue.
I think the way we presented it was things we wish we hadn't procrastinated on. So the point is, we're going to talk about the importance of overcoming procrastination. Don't wait for anything, and why we need to act on it now.
Yes.
So take a minute or so, and just in a nutshell, tell us how you help people.
I use my 20 years of comedy writing, performing, improvisation, and running a comedy troupe, producing shows and speaking. And now I'm kind of crafting it all just towards speaking. And I do work with people. I'm a creative mentor, and I love to be an accountability buddy, which is also known as a NAG. And I like to do speaking in person or on Zoom. And I promise not to scare your introverts, but my passion is humor. Humor connects us, and humor is healing. And you can find all that information on my website.
Okay, so you bring up the matter of humor. I want to touch on that for a second. There are a lot of people that would claim there's different types of humor. Some people have a dry sense of humor. Some have a more overt sense of humor. And some people say, I can't tell, like jokes. People think that jokes are humor, but for some people, they might not even be humor. How could you teach people humor? If humor comes as an expression of who you are in the moment, how can you actually teach it? You say, okay, now, Mr. Straight Alan Knight, boring Alan Knight, I'm going to give you a joke to tell, and I tell the joke and no one laughs. How do you teach humor?
I would never make you tell a joke. For one, that's not my genre. I'm awful with jokes. I can only remember punchlines, and that's written into my contract for my funeral. Everyone has to share their personal favorite punchlines only. So I don't do jokes, but I appreciate humor that's a connection of, say that you and I are at a store and we don't even know each other, and in walks a puppy parade. Maybe the puppies are all dressed as things and there's a clown and they're throwing candy. That's hilarious. We didn't expect that in this public spot. Maybe we don't speak the same language. Maybe we're different ages. It doesn't matter, because we just shared in that visually humorous thing. And what happens is our next interaction also has joy. So that ripple effect, that adrenaline burst, our blood pressure goes down and we just enjoy the moment. We can all think of a moment that might have been just a funny thing. It's not necessarily about grabbing a microphone and being in a spotlight.
Right. So you're talking about something like, you have a dog, I have a dog, we walk by, the dogs start kissing each other and we laugh.
That could be.
Okay, but that's humor that's stimulated from the outside. How do you help a person who is somewhat dry and anal retentive to become more humorous themselves?
Well, I sure wouldn't force it on them if that's not their goal. Some people are happy being stodgy, I guess. That's my opinion. But I would say less headlines, more punchlines. So you look online and you're scrolling through CNN and Fox and all these things, and you're like, oh, so and so died, and ooh, this just happened in that country. Okay, news is important, but is that great right before bed? Or should you look at an old show that really brought you joy, like I Love Lucy, or for me, it's Carol Burnett, or funny videos of pets being silly? That's going to infuse that lightheartedness in you. And maybe you reach out because you say, oh my gosh, my friend Bill would love this cat video that is hilarious. And I'm going to reach out to Bill. Now I'm connecting because I'm saying, I laughed at this and I want to share in the joy. That's, you don't always have to have like this roaring laughter or a potential joke. There's not one comic that could tell the same joke the same way and still be universally funny. We
Do
all have
you,
our own spin.
that makes sense. Do you feel that living in the day and age that we are, with so much political correctness and so much oversensitivity, that a lot of people have lost their sense of humor? And do you find it more challenging to teach it as a result of people, if you say something that's kind of funny, what used to be funny is seen as sometimes even racist or something like that? Has that been a
Correct.
challenge for you?
It's not a challenge for me. I've always wanted to have clean humor, and I have a Facebook group called Counterclockwise, and that's all just sharing and humor. If anything is political or has to do with the pandemic, I take it off of there because I want that to be an escape from dirty jokes and things like that. I'm no prude. Remember, I work with police officers and I have 5 shared sons. I am not a prude, but online, you're not going to find that because that's not the attachment for me. I think you reach out to what brings you joy and you find your people that have the same sense of humor, and that's what makes a friendship. But you can certainly appreciate each other's. And yes, with political correctness, you're watching what you're saying, but it should be that way. I know it's way scary now because you're afraid to say anything, but it was time to kind of back off some of those things. I remember being a young female working in a bowling alley serving beers and getting swatted on the backside. I'm not
Mhm.
kidding. And
Mhm.
I'm only 55. I can't imagine what our parents went through.
Yeah.
That's not
Now,
okay.
all of us have heard the expression laughter is therapy. And for me, when people tell me, use that expression, I like to say, for me, it's a genuine, healthy expression of emotion is therapy. It could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be, sometimes you need a good cry. Sometimes you need to express a little healthy anger that's not destructive toward others. And obviously, good laughter. Do you find laughter is really therapy? And does it impact both our emotions and even the physical body?
Yes, what a great point. And I'm not saying everybody needs to find that belly laugh, but when you find something slightly amusing, it does lighten your mood and it does create a happier space for those around you. My husband and I, when we go through moods, we can state it. So we've come to this point where he can say, we call it gray. So I'm gray today. And in that way, I know not to take it onto myself that it's his, and I'll just tiptoe around and not bug him. And we get through it. I think it's healthier to be able to state what you're in with your circle that you trust. But with humor, when you seek it, there's really no fail with that, because when you do find something that amuses you or lightens you a slight bit, you're going to have your adrenaline up. It releases nature's antidepressant, which is serotonin, and it lowers blood pressure. And if you do laugh, that's healthy from the inside out. And did you know if you smile or laugh, just that you do it, like right now, anybody listening, go ahead and smile. Your body doesn't know that you're faking it, and you still release that joy. And when you give a smile to me, I have to return one.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you, because I have found, for me, it's part of, I guess, a little bit of what I teach, is that emotions, we hear a lot about affirmations and positive thinking, but we don't hear as much about the emotion. And I wouldn't be alive today. I'm convinced I wouldn't be alive today unless I didn't allow myself the freedom to express emotion. I don't mean just laughter. I mean crying, going down into my car, induce myself to cry, to get a little angry. And then if I got angry enough, after the anger was finished, I'd start bursting out in laughter. But one way or another, I channeled the emotion. Then I would go up into my mind, reprogram my mind, and then get back into action and communication. So I guess my question to you is, Do you yourself, and do you teach people how to laugh in the moment, induce laughter just like that?
That's brilliant. I relate to what you just said because I'm not ever saying suppress your anger or your sadness. You certainly should get it out, just like you said. And when I was raising my two sons, before I was married with more sons, one of the things would happen. I noticed that my teenager that was turning 15-ish was having what I called the rage. I named it the rage. And being a female, I know what happens around certain times of the month and you can't explain it. But for a girl, we have our period. And then we go, oh, that's why I was just mad at the world last week. Not saying it's that easy, but I'm shortening it. When I noticed this in my son, I would say, go run around the block, go punch your pillow, go take a shower, do something. Don't put a reason to this feeling, but get it out. And you're saying it as an adult, you were doing that. I think that's huge. Regarding forcing a laughter, there are friends of mine who do laughter yoga. I'm not a teacher of that, but they say you say ha and then ha ha and then just keep counting and going up. And
You
before
want
you
it?
know it, you're
Do you
laughing.
want to share a laugh now?
You can lead it. So go ahead.
I'm laughing, but there's nothing that's funny. I'm just laughing.
That's right.
I really think this is so crucial to our health. It's probably one of the most important things that we don't do very, very often. Now, we didn't even end up talking about procrastination. So since we're ready to wrap up, we'll have to do another.
Procrastinated.
We procrastinated and talking about procrastination.
Yes.
But we'll do another one. But since we're kind of running out of time, why don't we each take one thing that we procrastinated on that we wish we hadn't?
Yes, I would say for me, it was trying to get my TEDx talk out and thinking that I didn't have it and thinking that why would they pick me? We have those self-doubts. I put that off too long. And when I jumped into training and was around like-minded people and had that support, it just flowed and I did land one and it'll be out in the summer. So that to me was a big one. And something I learned recently that I wanted to share was someone said procrastination happens because in that place of panic, like I should get that done and I haven't gotten it done. That's something that some people that have had trauma or just something happen, that's what we know. We know that urgency and that anger at ourselves and dang it, I should get this done, but I don't. And that hangs on you for days, maybe weeks, maybe years, and because that's what we know. So once you realize that feeling is happening, kick its butt, do a countdown, do 5 minutes of whatever it is of the writing, do 5 minutes of that exercise, just 5 minutes. And chances are great, you're going to go 10 or 15 minutes.
Wow, that's good. That's powerful, powerful. My little story is more about the fact that I procrastinated for so many years and then beat myself up in saying to myself, people would say to me, Alan, how come you haven't gone to the Tony Robbins level? How come you're not famous? How come you're not out there? And as I reached middle age, and beyond, I started to beat myself up, you idiot. And I started to think if I died now, I wouldn't be satisfied. I would be very full of regret. And I came to the point where I got so fed up with living for the future or thinking about the past. And I started to live like I teach, living in the Zen zone, living in the moment. That's all we have. This is all we have, no matter what happens next week. Yes, I hope I will accomplish certain things that I haven't accomplished. I hope you will accomplish. But really, what I'm excited about is that I'm living each day, each moment. I know it's a cliche, but when you actually do that without unrealistic expectation, you're free. And if you're free, you don't have the future and you don't have the past. It's all one. It's all now. It's all present. And once I overcame that, once I got fed up with that pattern, I eliminated it forever. And now I don't have regrets. And if God forbid something happened to me tonight, well, I had a great conversation with you and it was a great way to go.
Nice.
And I trust I'm not. And they'll be, tomorrow I'll get up. My friend has an expression. Every day is like a lifetime. So I try to have that attitude the best I can. How do people get in touch with the wonderful Lisa David Olson? I'm sure you teach many things, but laughter, speaking, communicating. If you want someone who could really help you, she's the person. How do they get in touch with you, Lisa?
Thank you. Yes, I'm a business humorist, so invite me to come on in. Just find me on Facebook, or my website is easy too. It's just Lisa David Olson, ending with O-N. I've got a comedy album that you can find on there. I've got my book, my journal, and my podcast. So yeah, find me. I'd love to connect.
And make sure that when you do have some of these things come to pass, upload them on our private group as well so people can see.
Sounds great.
Lisa,
Thanks.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We got to do this again.
You know we will. This is awesome. Thanks for thinking of me.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great day.
You too, Alan.
Bye.
Bye-bye.